So I mentioned for my first video I would try for my journey into understanding attachment styles. So my journey into attachment styles is heavily influenced by my autism and my rough beginning. So I am a lovely type known as FA, which gives me some perspective on both sides. One side is called anxious preoccupied. It's primarily afraid of being alone, and it fights this by being sort of clingy, needy, and oftentimes it will attempt to manipulate emotionally to gain the upper hand on a dispute or the possibility of becoming alone. The other side is called dismissive avoidant. What's funny is that my autism played a huge part in developing the DA portion. Dismissive avoidant is someone who, in layman's terms, is someone who is very, very afraid of being abused by emotions or by physical abuse, either way. It should not be surprising to someone listening to those two descriptions that an FA would be the result of many forms of abuse. I'm not going to go too deep into that. That's not what this is about. But I can tell you, growing up with FA was very complex, especially because it was never identified. Instead, my professionals, we'll call them that, called me bipolar. This started when I was in my preteens, and it turned out to be untrue. Instead, it was that I was FA. For those who don't have a lot of experience with FA people tend to be very erratic, very moody. Their emotional control is questionable at best, which is one of the reasons why they call us disorganized avoidance. I had a pretty rough beginning, as many FAs do. I was in the system, and then I moved beyond that. I was introduced into a very nice family, and I spent the greater portion of my youth in that family. Eventually, in my teenage years, they introduced me to some professionals due to difficulties adjusting out of my past. These professionals were helpful to a degree, but I think more than anything else, as my INFJ side began to generate, I began to mirror their tactics, the way they talked, the way they influenced me as well as my parents. And I learned to be what some people refer to as a dark INFJ, which means that I became very good at manipulating through almost persuasion. Growing up, I struggled from many inappropriate behaviors, such as lying. I was a very, very neurotic liar. I had a stealing habit, but I didn't have the illness of stealing. The reason why I stole was, in my family, I wasn't necessarily the favorite. And sometimes I would ask for things like snacks or food in general. And it was often met with negativity or refusal. So I would take those food when I was at the grocery store. What kind of food did I take? Stupid stuff. Literally like cheddar cheese for like protein, pudding for sweets. Yeah, really stupid stuff. I also experienced and learned the hard way some pretty inappropriate actions. People who are autistic don't necessarily have the greatest grip on how to act appropriately in any situation. So I had some pretty difficult lessons that hit me pretty hard. I probably primarily exhibited something known as anxious preoccupied as a child. Anxious preoccupied as a child is someone who is afraid of being alone, and not necessarily as a child, but the type is primarily afraid of being alone, and they fight this by becoming manipulative, like my therapy efforts. So they will often become emotionally manipulative, guilting, trying to get their way by convincing the other person that they just need to figure it out. They just need to see it my way, right? I was also afraid of being alone. Obviously, separation from a troubled beginning was not easy to overcome for a child. Somewhere around my preteens, the professionals that were treating me, that were teaching me to manipulate or get my way, decided that I was bipolar. For those who know a lot about FA, they're pretty moody. They're pretty all over the place, yeah. Often known as disorganized avoidant. I found solace in video games. Probably when I entered middle school, there were a lot of early child proofs on PCs, and I learned using the help center of the Microsoft was an easy way to get around that because it used its own search browser. I would often be on Google Chrome, not Google Chrome, I apologize, often on YouTube. This was during a time before Google owned YouTube, and there was a lot of scary stuff out there. I learned very quickly that privacy was, in my opinion, a sham. We do not have anything private online, in my opinion. As such, over the years and all the way until now, I really didn't have a digital imprint at all. Very few people can find something on me. I never learned to participate in social media, which I later learned was a super big mark for like DA people. I didn't know this. But yeah, so I didn't have a digital imprint, I didn't have social media, etc. As I got older, I began to recognize my behaviors as pretty detrimental. I lost a lot of friends, I pushed away a lot of family members, and I learned exactly how bad these kind of things are for society. During this time period, I began taking medication for the bipolar, and it did a lot for flattening things and also elevating the flows up and down. When I was about 19, I got in trouble with something. I had a very unbalanced family member who said some things, and obviously everything was fine afterwards. But what it taught me was, if you are a bad person, like people can't really count on you or believe in you or put their trust out for you, you're probably going to end up pretty alone. And sometimes, like with situations like that, it can get really bad. I tried to have a relationship at that point. I didn't really tell too many people about it. It was pretty hush-hush except for me and her. And it wasn't super crazy. But when she wanted to move to the next step, I didn't want to. I realized inside of myself how bad I'd become, and how I really wasn't capable of stepping up for her. I stepped away, telling her that she needed to find someone to make her happy. After that, I decided to shut down all relationships, close up, and just kind of pull inside myself and really do some real work. I used a character profile called Xemnas from Kingdom Hearts 2. There is a wonderful actor by the name of St. Peters who voiced him. He shared some of his voice lessons, everything from speaking slowly and calmly, to speaking with authority, to making grand gestures. All of these worked a lot with my autism. So for those who don't know, a lot of people who are autistic later in their life develop a very even-keeled, deep voice when they're male, and a very, I would say, I've met a couple autistic women, and most of them have a very even-keeled voice as well. The reason why I do this, which other people might also, who are autistic, might also understand, is when I focus on my voice, when I focus on the pauses, when I focus on the depth, when I focus on the speed, it gets easier to shut out the noise of the world. Other tactics that I use is when I do these hand motions, I do them slowly. When you focus on the speed and you you actively address them, it takes some of your attention away from the outside world. This allowed me to focus, kind of tunnel focus, and remove some of the noise from my autism. I began to what I did to work on myself, besides these three things, was I also learned to wield Vulcan logic. So for those who don't watch a lot of Star Trek, Vulcan logic is often used as before you feel something, you look at the emotion, you ask yourself, is this useful for the situation? Should I do it? Most of the time, if it's negative, it's not. In Star Trek, sometimes the positive was said that way too. I used it primarily for learning to control my emotions rather than letting my emotions control me. This did a lot of good for my AP side, and it strongly developed my DA side. Over time, I became pretty even keel. My family was concerned about all of it, but they were mostly happy that I had settled down and I wasn't doing crazy stuff anymore. I didn't do any dating during this time period because I really wanted to work on myself. And over time, I became very separated from other people. I had a hard time relating to them. But then again, INFJs, autistic people, FAs are all in general pretty unusual people. So that's kind of how I learned to generate and control both sides. What ended up happening, however, was my anxious side kind of shrank a little bit, and I began to lose the ability to healthily attach. By the time I was in my 30s, I had developed quite a bit in terms of focusing and working on stuff. I also learned, and it worked with great effect. I learned that B vitamin was incredible for autism. It was also incredible for supposedly bipolar, and just in general for people who might suffer from a little bit of brain trauma, which is an unhelpfully part of my past. Probably past 30, I began trying to work again on my anxious side. I began opening my emotions and letting myself feel a little bit. I began dating a little bit, but very, very little. I also began attempting to meet people online through video games. Video games are a huge part of my past. They helped structure my world and focus things down. And meeting someone, I learned very quickly that a lot of girls didn't have respect for video games. When I say a lot of girls, I'm saying that the majority of women that I met. So I decided that I wanted someone who did. Because in my opinion, while you don't need the same interests, you do need to be able to respect each other's hobbies. Otherwise, you're gonna try to change their hobbies, and that's not okay. Those hobbies are designed to format that kind of stuff. When I was 34, I met my duo. She and I, there was a lot of sparks, a lot of craziness, and we worked together. And she brought a lot of awareness to me because through my interactions with her, I began to understand what an attachment type was. Eventually, my Google phone heard me say the term avoidant for making space, and it started throwing at me the attachment theory. And I was very happy to see that I had successfully done a lot of the things they call healthy building. And so there's a wonderful channel named Guided Awareness that shows a lot of healthy ways for people with different attachment types to come together, from dismissive, anxious, NFAs. I really liked her channel. She shared a lot of things that I connected with very closely. Over time, I moved away from home where I lived, and one of the things that changed immediately was I stopped taking bipolar medication. after which I learned I don't actually have bipolar. In 2 years of being away from home, I have never had any level of depression or manic. No, it's just really emotionally immature. Yeah. I also got really heavily into a lot of structural emotion control, from working out, healthy eating, taking care of hair, etc. Learning how to present myself to the world in a successful and forward-moving way. If I were to give some other people who struggle from either side, as I have experience with both, I would say that if you are AP, learn to make space. In fact, the journey that I made, I would say, was pretty successful. Take some time to just date yourself for a while. My girl also made me aware of this. That was really, really intelligent of her. She's amazing. But take some time to date yourself for a while and focus on understanding that you don't need someone always. It can be difficult, and this is something you'll have to practice once you get back into a relationship, because it's easy to fall back into your old traits if you don't lean both ways consistently. From the DA sides, I would say learn to trust, which is scary, I know, but we're all working on it. And if you do eventually find your one, I think that you'll understand. When I met my girl, when I met my duo, all the keys turn, as I tell her, and I really wanted to trust. I really wanted to give in. I felt safe. For autistic people, I would say work very hard on generating outward influences. Wear clothes that you want to wear. Work on your physical appearance. Work on your voice. Work on how you hold yourself. Your posture is incredible for focusing on something that closes out the world. The other thing is work very hard at whatever talent you're naturally good at. I have always been fascinated by psychology, as you know, that when I was younger, I adapted my therapist's perspectives. Eventually, I changed those to persuading people and talking to them on their level rather than being bad about it. But I would say that the best thing that you can do is learn to use your number one hobby to focus and tunnel out the world. You can progress just fine. And if you ever find someone, try to show up the best you can be. And don't believe people when they say autistic people can't find love. Autistic people show love differently, and be honest up front with your partner. Say, I'm autistic, and these are the common things that I do that are a little bit unusual. You'd be amazed by how many people who like you for you would be willing to overlook a thing or two. Flaws make us wonderful. They make us unique. And the most special thing about having someone is they like the real you and not a mask. So that was my journey, the things I went through to balance it out. And every day I'm learning more and more how to show up for my girl in a healthy, balanced way. And she's pretty amazing. She's pretty tolerant. She's pretty patient. She's working on herself too. Try not to enter into a relationship where one is a pedestal. And one more thing. There's a lot of advice online about red pill or pink pill. When you get in a relationship, you're a duo. The two of you need to work together. There might be one of you that does things better, but always remember humility. No one in this world likes being talked down to. And the moment you start talking down to someone else, to protect themselves, they will either talk down to you as well, and that's poisonous, and or they'll get scared, and the person you love will fall away. If I gave any advice with one phrase, I would say, doubt destroys trust. Doubt grows stronger with doubt. Trust destroys doubt, and trust grows stronger with trust. And being the bigger man is not weakness. Take care, and first video.